Hey FLOSSTUBE, it's Leigh from Creative Leigh with a regular FLOSSTUBE on Sunday, 1st of January 2023. Happy New Year. For those of you who are joining me for the third time this week, technically fourth time since my last FLOSSTUBE was on a Monday, thank you. It's a lot. For those of you who haven't seen, I've had a couple of videos up the last couple of days. I did a 2022 finish parade on Friday, and then I did a end of 2022 whip parade on Saturday. So I'm going to give a really brief sum up of my 50 at 50 challenge project. Don't know what you call it, that I did this last year, but if you want to see any of the projects, all of my 50 at 50 I've either shown as finishes or as whips or UFOs in the last couple of videos, so go back and have a look at those. Thank you also to the number of people who specifically commented on their appreciation of my efficient, I guess, some summary videos. Yes, heavily edited. There was a lot of work that went into them. The work is useful for me too, because I like to have a annual reference of what I did. So spreadsheets and PowerPoint and stuff help. But yeah, certainly appreciate there's a lot of videos, a lot going on this time of year, and I didn't want to have, you know, a 2-hour video of rustling and shoving stuff in and out of bags when I could cut all that out and just give you, as brief as I can be, summaries and stuff. So yeah, back to our regularly scheduled program, I guess. I have a couple of things to show you today, and I have a few purchases. I've got, please stick till the end, I picked up some framing. I can't remember how many, 5? I think I've got 5 FFOs. And they're lovely and amazing, and I don't even want to tell you how much I spent yesterday at the framing shop. My plan to have things come in every month or two didn't work. Everything came due at the same time. But yeah, I've got some lovely pieces to show you. I'm very excited about it. And yeah, I quickly want to, it won't be quick. I do want to cover a few goals I've got for the year. I'm going to try a little bit of a checklist of things I do want to achieve this year. They don't happen, it's just somewhere to start, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So, grab a drink, and yeah, we'll get into just a few things that I've got new in this last week. Okay, so I mentioned a FLOSSTUBE or two ago about how I had joined Teresa Koget's Patreon, just specifically because I wanted a chart that was only available to Patreon, because I don't know if she's going to release them generally or when or if or whatever, but also that it's quite expensive. So to be a member of tier 3 or 4 for me is quite a lot, given that I don't want all of the free charts. So I had bought the one chart, and then I meant to go back before the end of the month, which is basically today, USA time. I went in and purchased one other chart that I quite liked, and then picked up a couple of the freebies, one that was released today, I think, because yeah, my subscription ends today and I won't have access to the secret shop anymore. So the one that I paid for was a previous tier 4 Patreon chart, which I wouldn't have got because I've only been tier 3. And it's Let Love Rain. I'm pretty sure people have seen this. I do love the colours, and it's a sort of project that you could just stitch pieces of it, make a little drum, stitch that bit on its own. It's quite adaptable, so probably I've paid for it, I intend to stitch it. If when I stitch it, I probably wouldn't do the whole thing. I don't know, it's quite big. But it's just, yeah, put in my stash. I just really liked it, so I bought that one. And then I picked up a couple of her other ones. One of these, I think she released this one today, for the freebie for tier 3 and 4. It's called I Live in a Cottage, and it's quite sweet. So I grabbed that. And a couple of others that were still in there. I'm not quite sure how I got this one because it's for January 2023 and I'm expiring today, but I got that one. It was available for me to download. Happy House, quite sweet. Not sure if I'd stitch it, but you know, whatever. And then also there was just a cute little freebie needle and flax. I don't know, I'm not sure about that one, but make a nice little small. So they're new. I've also subscribed to a stitch along with Carolyn Manning Designs, and I intend to use up some silks and beads and bling and stuff, you know, that I've got left over from all the Mirabilias I've done over the years. It's called my Grandma's Jewellery Box, and I intend to stitch these in as little ornaments. 2023 will be a year of ornaments. I'll get into that a little bit more with some of my plans. But they're just cute little blingy sort of designs inspired by antique brooches and things. So we've got the first chart, and I believe it's going to be, I don't even know when it's going to be, monthly? I don't really care, I haven't read it. Oh yeah, full year of costume jewellery inspired designs, each measuring 43 by 43. Full stitches, back stitching, Mill Hill beads, metallic threads, DMC, specialty stitches, nice little bite-sized things, and I intend to stitch these and make them into little ornaments. I don't always put up a Christmas tree, but I kind of like the idea of my Christmas tree, which is black, like my soul, to have lots of sort of metallics and sort of not, I'm not going to fill it with Santas. I'm not a Santa-y kind of person. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. But, you know, using up some of the stuff that I've got. I also did subscribe or purchase I decided I'll do at this stage, the alternate trees by Modern Folk Embroidery. This is a companion chart, but it's a standalone chart as well, that goes along with Reaching Skyward, the 2023 sale. At this stage I'm not going to do that. It's a big piece, it's quite a commitment. I'm not sure I want that design. And these alternate trees you can purchase and you can substitute out for the motif that's on the chart or stitch it. And I loved all four, and I'm thinking, no idea what colour scheme, but yeah, I think this is a nice size piece to stitch all four like this. So I don't know when I'll start it, but I will need to decide around, I'll stitch it in the two colours, and yeah, sometime. I purchased it anyway. So sorry about this, I'm just popping in because I realised I had some fabric I didn't show you. So I'm going to be doing some fabric dyeing, both on my own and with a few friends sometime. We were going to be doing this on the 2nd, and but someone got COVID, so we've had to postpone it. But I've just picked up some linens to dye. I do have a number of rip dyes, and I really want to get into doing a little bit of dyeing. A little piece of 28 count. I don't use this a lot, but I do have a couple of designs that need sort of 28 count so they can fit in standard photo frames when they're stitched. So a little smaller piece of 28 count. I picked all these up from stitchnz.co.nz. I guess half of 40 count, and then a metre of 35 count. There's a nice big chunk. You know, 35 is probably my go-to with most things, so that should give me enough to play around with. I also got my monthly Rainbow Club, which I'm getting a little bit of extra stuff at the moment in. This is from Country Stitch. I'm not going to take these out. I have used fog before, but I wanted 35 count fog for a project. Can't remember what it's for. Oh yes, this is going to be for Hunter Gatherer by Rosewood Manor, which I'm going to stitch as a sampler kind of dedicated to my dad, because it's, you know, kind of a little bit more masculine and he used to go hunting. And then I've got a fat quarter of Pippi, 35 count. I don't remember what this is for. It's definitely for a project. And then also I've got a few Belle Soir. These are the called for Panoply. It's a Tempting Tangles Panoply of Roses. Is that what it's called? I can't remember. Anyway, these are the called for that. I think that's all the new stuff. My birthday is coming up in January, so I did allow myself a nice order from 123 Stitch. I put a whole lot of stuff in my cart, went to my cart, and nearly fell off my chair because it came to like over $500 New Zealand, and that was too much. So then I put some stuff back in my wish list and got it down to a reasonable amount, although it's still a lot. So that'll be on its way to me shortly, hopefully. I don't think it'll arrive before my birthday. We'll see. Okay, so that's the new stuff. I should give you a quick, we'll show you my stitching for the week, which is not much. Then I'll talk about my 50 at 50 summary and some stitching goals, and then I'll show you my fully finishes. I'm so excited about them. They're still wrapped up in bubble wrap. I mean, I saw them at the store, but I sort of came home and raced off and didn't have a chance to even open them, so I can really enjoy them with you. Okay, so stitching for the week. So I had a new start yesterday. Judith and her husband Mark were kind enough to, hi Mark, Mark listens occasionally, were kind enough to invite me for New Year's, and Judith and I had been meaning to start Gigi together, so we decided what a good time to do that would be, do a New Year's Eve start. So Gigi by Nora Corbett, and we both started with some black. We're both stitching them called for threads at this stage and everything, but on different fabric. Judith has the called for Milk Chocolate by Witchelt, and it is beautiful, and I'm stitching mine like I did my other two Boob Witching Pixies on Vintage Country Mocha, using 2 threads. You may recall I finished 2 of the Pixies, Anna and Eva, during 2022, and now I picked up Gigi. So started yesterday, and then we did a little bit more this morning before and after breakfast. And this cat looks a bit munted because the cat blends into the dress, and also has to have some back stitching to define the ear and to define the line between the cat and the dress. But yeah, I've started at the bottom, working my way up from said cat up here, and Judith sort of started here and she's working down. So yeah, I'm going to do this as a stitch along. It was fun just getting a little bit of black stitching in and having lovely company over New Year. So yeah, now I'm up to 20 whips. I also did a little bit more stitching. I did show my Fraktur 12 yesterday in my whip parade, where I had done a little bit of stitching, quite a bit of stitching on it since you last saw it in a regular floss tube, but I did a little bit more stitching after I did while my video was uploading. Still haven't quite filled in the bird who needs a name. He needs a really fancy name. Suggestions in the comments. It needs to be an old-fashioned Ponzi sort of name, like, you know, because he'll eventually sit alongside Frederick and Frederica on a Fraktur wall. Yeah, so I got more of him filled in basically. I'm getting his feathers. I've got a little bit more of the lighter orange to do around his neck, and then the rest of it is filled in with the darker 919. And then I'll be probably about 60% done, I reckon. So there we go. He is on 40 count Cornstraw by Country Stitch with a slight conversion, a couple of DMC, but with a couple of colours changed up, and he will start 35 or 50. That's what he looks like finished. So that's pretty much all of my stitching since my last video, which was yesterday. A little bit to show. I thought that I'll just give you a quick overview of my 50 at 50 on a page. Again, for anyone newish, who hasn't been around for a while, I decided to start on my 50th birthday, which was last January, do 50 starts while I'm 50. I did a few more because I did some extra bonus stuff and I carried on, but essentially to focus on 50 starts at 50, and it sort of averaged out one a week for 50 weeks, starting on my birthday. Everything, as I said before, everything is in the last two videos, both in the finish parade and the whip parade. I think there are, 31 finishes in the finish parade and 19 whips in the whip parade. That equals 50. So here we are, clean on the page. Yes, I do love the orange. People who know me know me. So that's sort of the white whips, the lighter orange finishes, the dark medium orange starts and finishes, and the dark browny, orangey brown, whatever that colour is, as the two UFOs that I talked about. So yeah, again, 31 finishes, 15 of them were starts and finish. That meant I finished them between floss tubes, so usually within a week. 2 of them have been FFO'd. You're going to see them shortly. Now I had to show screenshots of them in my finish video because I didn't have the FFOs back. They were at the framers. And then I had 2 UFOs, meaning for one reason or other they are being put in the timeout cupboard because one of them I hate the fabric, one of them I'm not happy with the floss choice I made. So they probably will be restarted. I want to restart them in the future, but they'll be restarted, one on new fabric and one on with different floss. So yeah, that was a pretty successful project. I think doing it again, I've mentioned a couple of times, I think I probably would have started a couple of them I wouldn't have started, the really big ones that have no hope in hell have been finished. One of them was Fall by Teresa Wentzler. That needs more dedicated time. I'm hoping to spend, a good month focusing a lot on that this year, I think. And the Violanda sampler is just too big to finish within the year. So everything else I'm fine with. Just they're 2 that just didn't really, I did a start and then I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm not going to be able to finish them and do 48 other projects. So I just left them. And I don't like that. I'd rather have had a little bit more progress on them. So both of them are on the list to get some progress on this year. Speaking of goals for the year, I don't usually do a whole lot of goals, but I thought I did mention when I did my whip parade that I had a goal for each of the outstanding whips. I'm not going to go through them again because, again, go watch that video, but I have summarised a little goal sheet that I'll just keep track of during the year. So all of those whips are on there, example, at where they're currently at and where I want to finish, and I put boxes in to check off if and when I get them done. For example, that Fraktur Bird, I want to finish that. It's currently around 50% or probably closer to 60 since I wrote this list. So I want to get him finished. The Mermaid Song, the one I also showed during my whip parade that I'd done a little bit more on it since my last floss tube. I want to get that finished. That's probably around 20% done, I think, but that shouldn't be too big. It's a relatively small project. Like the Fall, the Carousel Horse, I want to finish the border. So some of them there's quite a few finishes on the list, but there's a few I just want to make nice progress on them. And some other goals that I'm interested in doing. So I'm starting a new start today. I didn't bring it out because I've got enough to show you. It's the Stitch Goddess by Tiny Modernist. I'm doing that as a stitch along with Judy from an Aussie and Judy from an, I know Judy and a Judith, it's ridiculous. Judy from an Aussie in a Kiwi world. We're going to do that as a stitch along. So I'm going to start that today. I'm going to try not to do too much because I'm trying to be good with my stitch alongs and just do a little bit at a time. I plan to do anything I'm doing a stitch along with, I plan to stitch on each month a little bit, but it might only be like a couple of hours just to keep it tracking along. So the sales at the moment that I'm involved in, the New Zealand Cross Stitch Flowers Ball, that one I want to finish by the end of the year and do a little bit each month. And there's a couple of people, I think 3 or 4 people in our New Zealand cross stitch group that's doing that. stitch along with Jude. As I just said, the Stitch Goddess that I'm starting today, that one I want to just do progress. So I might still want to finish it this year, or at least this time next year. That doesn't make any sense. It's like the day after. But I don't want to get too far ahead because I know Jude's got a million projects, so she's not going to be able to dedicate as much time to it as I might. Eva with Judith, again, make steady progress on that. And what was the other cell that I was in? I think there's another one, but I've forgotten what it is. Then I want to keep up with my grandma's jewellery box, so I want to stitch them every month. So I want to have them, and I want to FFO them as ornaments by the end of the year. So I've got 12 little boxes to check off there. I'm also quite keen to stitch on some other ornaments. So I have in my stash, in 2020 and 2021, as part of the Linen and Thread mystery samplers, when they released, they're now Fox and Rabbit of course, but when they were Linen and Threads and they released their monthly stitch along, they added bonus ornaments. They're all around between 45 and 50 stitches square, and so there are 12 for each year. I'm just going to cover the chart. So that's the 2020 and the 2021. So I just kept all those. I'm quite keen to do them again on some high count fabric with beads, maybe add some beads, but certainly using silks and metallics. A lot of my variegated silks I think will look lovely in some of these designs. And just, I haven't picked fabric or anything yet, but I'm quite keen to stitch at least 12 of them. They're not very big, they should be quite quick. And again, have them stitched and fully finished by the end of the year. Some other smalls I want to stitch. I know I want to stitch an FFO at least 6 smalls that I've got people in mind to gift to. At least 6, so I can do more. And then there'll be some other projects as well. I've got, 60 something kits kitted up. None of these are kitted up, the things I've just shown you. But I don't know how many of them I get to. I know I've got a birthday start, which is going to be a sampler, and I'm starting another Caroline Manning design, but the 10,000 Lakes on the 21st of January when we have our Wellington Stitchy gathering, because Anne sort of suggested we'll stitch along a Caroline Manning design, so I'm going to start that. That was a chart that was gifted to me, and there'll be other things along the way. So I don't want to commit to like 10 or 12 or none or whatever, but I'm just going to keep a track of that. But I'm keen to make sure that I chip away at some of my goals. There's quite a bit of stitching to do in there, but I'm quite keen to get those goals achieved if I can. We'll see. We'll check in monthly and see how I'm going. I think that's all I wanted to wrap it on about. Okay, just going to go and unwrap all of the finishes, and I'll be back in just a moment for you. Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm so excited, and it costs so much money. I don't want to think about it. Okay, one moment. That was quite a drama to get all those out. So when I drop off framing to get professionally framed, I do usually pay like a bit of a deposit. It's not necessary where I go. Partly I go there a lot, so they know me, but certainly it makes picking up pieces a little bit less traumatic, because you kind of forget you already paid them $0. Anyway, so my first up, when I get things framed, I have a lot of finishes, and I have a lot that I want to get framed. And some I frame myself if I can find a frame, and others, get museum glass because they're really special, and others just get ordinary glass. But I try and kind of grab, a favourite piece from older stitching and then something newer. So I've got quite a range here, including a print, but I'll show you that anyway. So this is one of my older starts, and I've loved this piece. I stitched this in 1999. The chart was out of a magazine, and I did find I've seen it advertised as Sunflower Sampler, but also Be Ye Thankful, and it was in Cross Stitch Country Crafts July and August 1992. But the colours are just beautiful, and even when I look at it, I go, wow, I did 1/1 stitching in blended threads. I did French knots. It's like, you know, I have absolutely no recollection. Oh, some satin stitches. She was quite the fancy sampler. So yeah, this was back in 1909. It's just on a neutral, probably 32 count linen. And I just picked a really plain kind of vintagey looking frame that I thought matched it. And I didn't get fancy glass. It's just, it's not the cheapest glass, it's the next one up. So you will get quite a bit of glare. So I apologise for that. But yeah, I just love this sample. I love the colour, having those sort of mauvey purples in there mixed with the bright yellow sunflowers and stuff. So I'm pretty sure I made some changes in the alphabet if I remember rightly. Of course, personalised it, and I just think it's really stunning. So oh yeah, there you go. Just a plain wooden frame, and really happy with that. So that's FFO number 1. Okay, next up, so I'm doing this in order of oldest to newest, I think. Next up is the Berry Bowl sampler that was from Heartstring Samplery and the Scarlet House. This was one I stitched. I started it in August 2020 and I finished it in December 2020. This is one that was charted to be stitched essentially by 2 different people and 2 fabrics and put together. I changed the middle of it rather than having something around. This little phrase in the middle of the cartouche was all around, I don't know, sort of inferred that it was stitched by 2 people, and it's like that wasn't, it was stitched just by me on one. I did it on 36 count heritage sampler linen from Victoria Motto Sampler Shop, and I used a partial conversion from Stash. Personalise it and just throw a little bit of modern irony in there. Irony. A little bit of just subversiveness, I guess. I put in a line from Harry Styles' what's that song? Watermelon Sugar. And I just picked a kind of grey brown frame because it felt like it went with the baskets. And I think it's just conservation glass, it's not museum glass in this one, but again the glare's gonna suck, but I love it so much. It's so vivid and I'm so happy with it. So yeah, and just did some backstitch in there. I want more berries in that summer feeling. It's so wonderful and warm. Ironic that I hate summer, but, and yeah. Initials up there, added the date and year in here, because of course there were room for 2 initials and stuff, but yeah. Again, if I come back here, you'll get less glare. Next up is one I probably wanted to save till the end, except I'm doing them in order and that would just make me twitch. So, I love this so much. Like honestly, anyway. And I did use museum glass for this. So this is Red Deer Sampler by Gigi, which was my birthday start last year. No, year before, 2021. And I finished it in June 2021. And of course, FFO'd, as in I picked it up yesterday. And I stitched this on 36 count pumice from Country Stitch. And I used my own conversion, mostly Victoria Motto Sampler Shop, a few extras in there. And I've picked kind of a frame that for me reminds me of a kind of a vintagey looking frame because it was a reproduction sampler that I modified heavily. And of course museum glass is amazing, you don't get the glare, you don't get the reflection I should say, and I love it so much. This reminds me of the kind of frame my grandparents would have in around old photos and stuff. Now I did change this heaps. There were some things I kind of made more symmetrical, where the flowers were quite different. I changed the name and put my name in there. I put my year of birth, so I got 1972 down there, and then I put the year I stitched it up there, 2021. I changed the deer's face significantly because I know it's a design that this deer shows up in a lot of samplers, and I think it must have been like just one that was passed around in a sampler book, because it has the eyes in the weird place, that like the eyes look like they're in the middle of the forehead. So I did change that a little bit to make it a little bit less freaky deer looking. I change stuff. I don't care if it's a reproduction sampler. They didn't stitch it for me to stitch their thing, so I'm happy to change it. And I just, honestly, I love this with all the love in the world. So usually my birthday sampler I try and get framed. Usually it's something a bit more special that I don't know, just that I imagine passing on to somebody. But anyway, I can't help but just love this. I hope this is my YouTube video thing. Thumbnail. Next up is one of my finishes from this year. I don't know why I picked this one. I just did. I don't know, I guess my Scottish ancestry. And it's Scottish Garden by I can never say this. Scottish Garden by Stone Street Stitchworks. Stone Street Stitchworks. It's really hard to say. So this was start 10 or 50, and I did I sell this one 21st of March to the 24th of March, and this is on 36 count tussock country stitch with a partial conversion as suggested in the design. They basically said go ahead with it. I can't even remember. I think a lot of the flowers had a lot more variegation. Like a lot of the flowers were like, I don't know, the centre of this one might have been, these two might have been the same, and that one was different, that was the same. Like I kind of made them a little bit more the same. I can't even think what words are. Consistent, maybe. So it's sort of, yeah, just change stuff. Like it was more like, oh, I'm too lazy to put down the floss and pick a different floss to stitch there when I could just stitch all the white ones the same, really. Put my initials in and added 2022 in there, and they're all in 4-sided stitch. The roof is a combination of crosses and alternating rows of tent stitch. Gives it a nice tweedy sort of thatched look. And I just think it's a sweet little sampler. And again, went with I often like try and get the frame if it's got brown and stuff to sort of match tonally with the brown. So in this one I feel like it matched the brown that's in the birds and stuff. And you know, the frame's not the main, I think it's really sweet. I'm really happy with that. So yeah, what's that? Frame number 4. And then when I picked this up, I can't remember the guy's name from the framer, he said this was his favourite. Obviously likes the modern designs. This is a firm favourite from my FLOSSTUBE community and the New Zealand group. Certainly a lot of people wanted this chart, and I know that I think, you know, at least one of the stores in New Zealand had to order it in several times. Quite a few people snap-pulled this. It's Lighting the Way by Silver Creek Samplers. And this is the one that I stitched. I took ages to find the fabric. I'm usually not that fussy, like it'll do, it's cream, it's grey. This one I just wanted the fabric to be right to match what was in my head, and in the end back and forward with Catherine at Country Stitch a few times, and she'd suggested Halloween Smoke, and I went, I've used Halloween Smoke, I don't think it's dark enough, and she said, well, she can make it darker, so she just added a bit more dye, I guess. So yeah, 36 count Halloween Smoke, but a custom darker version from Country Stitch. Call for DMC and Weeks Dye Works. 1/2. I wrote 1/1 on this card, but it's 1/2. And I started this on the 3rd of April, and I finished it on the 12th of June, and of course picked it up yesterday. And I must have gone with conservation glass for this as well. And just went with a frame that kind of gave me, without being, you know, beach chic, kind of gave me the idea of sort of weathered wood, sort of picking up on the greys and the rocks, the kind of greyer toned sort of blues, and I'm just so happy with this. And I have one more thing that I got framed, and this is a print, and again, anyone who's been around for a little while knows that I love the ballet, and I've gone to the Royal New Zealand Ballet here in Wellington like on average 3 times a year since I moved here, and I moved here in 1999. it's a lot of ballets that I've been to. And most of the time, the home of the New Zealand Ballet is the St James Theatre in New Zealand. Since I've been in Wellington, it's been closed and renovated for earthquake strengthening twice now, and it only reopened again this year, I think, after having been closed for like 3 years or something. And so we're back at the St James. And when I went to the New Zealand Art Show in June this year, there was a company, an original pen and ink drawing of the St James, but it was like $600 or $700. I'm like, ugh. Anyway, I did a little bit of research and saw that they often sold limited edition prints, and this is print number 2 of 100. I pretty much bought it the day it came out on their website, and it has it arrived in the mail, and I took it straight down to get it framed. And so this is the St James Theatre. So for me, this is my Wellington piece of art. This for me represents my love of the arts and theatre, live performance, the ballet. I've been to the shows at the St James, so not just the ballet. I've been to like Les Miserables, I've been to other dance pieces, other performances and stuff there. And this is for me why I moved to Wellington. I moved here because I knew that this is where it's the arts capital of New Zealand. It's where all the things happen. We have an arts festival, Fringe Festival, we have all sorts of theatres and stuff. So yeah, I just love this. So this, I actually don't even know where I'm going to put this yet. I'm going to have to shuffle stuff around. But I just had to get it done. So I just got a simple white frame, similar to how I got San Francisco print framed, and yay. So that's a lot, right? That was a lot of framing. And I wait, like a couple of those I dropped off in February to get framed, but there was a delay in getting museum glass, and anyway, so those are my FFOs to start off the year. I haven't dropped anything off to them to frame yet. I need to recover from that bill first, but I do have, I do need to go through and decide what are the next sort of 3 or 4 things I want to get framed. I know I want to get another one of my long dogs framed, Life After Death, for my room, and I do really want to get a couple of older pieces framed, so I need to save up my pennies for those. Yeah. That's it. That's quite a long one, not a lot of stitching, but thanks again for coming along. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate all the lovely comments and my regular subscribers. I really enjoy doing the FLOSSTUBE. I wouldn't do them if it wasn't a joy. I hope that 2023 is a fantastic year for you. 2022 had its ups and downs. There were some real highs and some real lows. I hope that 2023 has a lot more highs and a lot less lows. Quick note about Dad, he's doing okay. He's still in a lot of pain, working with the doctor to adjust his pain management. The doctor said do nothing, you need to recover. Doing nothing is not something my dad does naturally. He hates it, and I get that, but yeah, he's doing okay. I think he said he was going to stay up till 7:30 last night for New Year's, so poor old Dad. Fingers crossed he doesn't have too many trips to hospital this year, that's all I can say. Take care, find joy in your stitching, and as always, don't let your needles rust. Ciao.